Turn now to one of the most famous art heists ever. The FBI revealing that after more than 2 decades now, they think they know who pulled off a stunning robbery of 13 pieces of art worth $500 million from Boston's Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum.
It's the kind of thing that makes national news and the kind of thing Robert Wittman made a career out of for the FBI. Catch the bad guys that steal and try to sell art.
Special Agent John Hartley, FBI.
Hi, guys.
Well, unbelievably, or believe it or not, the first case I was involved with was a museum heist. It was a mask by Rodin, which was stolen from the Rodin Museum in Philadelphia. And that was one of the first cases I got involved with. We solved it. And as a result, the FBI sent me to art school, to the Barnes Foundation in Philadelphia. And once I was trained in art, jewelry identification, and high-value asset investigations, that's what I did for the rest of my career.
The theft was timed to the busiest day of the year for Boston police, St. Patrick's Day.
Whitman worked on this case as well, going undercover in Miami and Spain to get back one of the Rembrandts and the Vermeer.
So as a result, many times I got involved, like I said, in 20 countries, working undercover. I was undercover somewhere in the world for almost 10 years.
To date, Whitman has recovered over $300 million in lost and stolen art. And don't think of art as just drawings, paintings, and sculptures. It's anything that could be called an asset.
When we talk about high-value assets, we're not just talking about sculptures, paintings, and prints. We're talking about things like Superman comic books. They're worth $1 million today, the original comic books. Very recently, a Tom Brady rookie card that was signed was sold for over $1 million. Think about that. And what would happen is these individuals would steal this material, and ultimately, when they tried to market it, when it came back to market, that's when we would recover it. And they couldn't find a real buyer. They had to find the police, and that was me.
Probably the most sellable value was this Rembrandt, recovered in Europe in a sting operation with 3 governments working together.
It's a self-portrait of Rembrandt when he was 24 years old, painted in 1630, and considered one of the finest self-portraits he ever did. It was done on copper, which was very, very valuable. That was a very valuable type of metal back in 1630. And he did it on copper using gold flecks in the paint. It was one of his premier pieces.
Other assets that have meant a lot to Robert through the years was a flag flown by African American soldiers in the Civil War and an integral part of American history.
And that was a copy of the Bill of Rights. That was the original, one of the original 13 copies of the Bill of Rights that were sent to the 13 states back in 1787, 1789 by George Washington. And this copy of the Bill of Rights was to be ratified by the state into the U.S. Constitution. And this was stolen during the American Civil War, 1865. It was taken right out of the State House in Raleigh, North Carolina. And we recovered it in Philadelphia in 2003. So it was missing for over 150 years. But that particular piece, or 140 years, that particular piece, if it could be sold on the open market, would be valued at around $100 million.
It may sound like a glamorous life, but remember, Robert was undercover all over the world for over a decade, and many times his life was in danger.
When you work undercover as a law enforcement officer, you're always nervous, and there's always a possibility that things can go south. So, I always had my escape routes planned, and yes, I always had SWAT teams around and working around the world, say like in Spain when we did a case in Madrid.
Still, it was rewarding work, and work he still does today for his own company.
What do people say when you get their art back?
Oh, they're ecstatic.
Ecstatic because it's not the monetary worth of the pieces that's important. It's the sentimental value a lot of times. He is the #1 expert in the field. Wittman has even consulted on 16 art theft movies.
She set me up, framed me.
A few clever keystrokes and poof. Bye-bye, Agent John Hartley.
And he gets to travel to give lectures on the topic. Even if you don't know art, his experience speaks to everyone.
Everybody's a collector. We're all human beings. We're involved in 2 things. We love treasure hunts, and we love collecting. And people don't think they are. It's satisfying for me to be able to do this, to instruct individuals. It's good for my business. And I enjoy helping museums, especially like the Medici. I think it's great what they're doing. I think the new director there, Caitlin, has got some great ideas, and she's going to bring that museum way up in the world and make it into one of the premier spots, I think, in Ohio.